The wind was dry and hot on the broken moon called Dolores 7. A place where refugees gathered, hoping for safety, but finding only dust and hunger. The ground was cracked. The skies were gray. And on the edge of the marketplace, beside a shattered road, sat a small alien girl, no older than 7. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were wide and glowing with fear. Her tiny hands gripped the arm of a woman lying in the dirt. The woman wasn't moving. Her chest barely rose and fell. Her lips were dry. Her skin was turning cold. "Mom, please wake up," the girl whispered, her voice dry like the sand. Nobody stopped. Aliens walked past her. Some glanced, most ignored. One muttered, "Just another dying refugee." Another said, "She's probably sick. Stay away." The little girl's lips trembled. She stood up and shouted, "Please, help. My mom won't wake up." Nothing. And then a human arrived. He wasn't tall or young. He wore a long coat, patched and dirty. A strange scar ran down the side of his cheek. His eyes were tired but alert. He had a small backpack and a utility knife strapped to his boot. His name was Jack, though no one in this town cared. He heard the girl's voice. He saw her standing over the motionless woman. He saw everyone ignoring her. Jack stopped. He looked at the girl. Her knees were bleeding. Her hands were shaking. He knelt beside the woman, ignoring the stares from the crowd. She's not waking up." The girl whispered again, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Please, help her." Jack touched the woman's neck. Weak pulse. Faint breath. Still alive. Barely. "What's your name?" Jack asked gently. "Silly," she replied, voice shaking. "Silly, I need to carry your mom to a medic," Jack said. "Will you come with me?" She nodded quickly, not letting go of her mother's hand. Jack gently lifted the woman onto his back. She was thin, weak, almost weightless. Her body had gone stiff from exhaustion and dehydration. The nearby shopkeepers stared in silence. "Crazy human," one alien muttered. "Why risk yourself?" Another whispered. Jack didn't answer them. He just kept walking, step by slow step, with Silly walking beside him. The town of Sarin 3 was small, filled with broken buildings and angry faces. It wasn't a place for kindness, especially not for humans. Most blamed humans for the war, for the famine, for everything. Jack knew that. But he didn't care. He reached a small metal shack with a faded red cross painted on it. The medic's clinic. He knocked. Hard, an old alien male opened the door. His skin was green-gray, with deep lines on his face. He looked at Jack like he'd seen poison. "You," the medic spat. "Human. Leave, I don't treat your kind." "She's not human," Jack said, pointing to the unconscious woman. "She's dying." The medic looked at her, then at the child. His face tightened. "Put her down there," he said coldly, pointing to a dirty cot. Jack lowered her carefully. Silly held her mother's hand tightly, whispering, "Please be okay, Mama." The medic grumbled, began checking her vitals. He hooked up a fluid bag, attached a small oxygen mask, and gave her 2 shots from his old medical case. "She's badly dehydrated," he muttered. "Liver's failing, heat stroke, starvation." Jack stepped back, watching. Then the medic turned. "If she dies here, they'll blame you," he said harshly. "You touched her. You carried her. You're human. That's enough for a mob." "I'm used to mobs," Jack said quietly. The medic stared at him for a moment, then went back to work. Silly looked up at Jack. "You stayed," she whispered. "Yeah," Jack said. "I stayed." Outside, the word was spreading. A human touched an alien woman. A human brought her into the clinic. Angry voices started rising. Curious eyes peeked through windows. Rumors always moved fast in small places. Jack sat on the floor beside Silly. She leaned against him, her tiny body trembling. "My dad, he's gone," she said quietly. "We were running. She collapsed this morning. I thought she was just tired." Jack didn't say anything. He just placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Inside, the monitor beeped slowly. The woman's breathing grew a little stronger. "She make it," the medic finally said. "But she needs rest, food, water, and protection." Jack nodded. "I'll stay," he said. "Suit yourself," the medic replied, "but don't expect anyone to thank you." Outside, someone banged on the door. The medic flinched. Jack stood up. "Who is it?" Jack asked, voice calm but steady. A growl came from the other side. "Come out, human. You've broken law. You touched her. You'll answer for this." Jack didn't move. His hand went to the utility knife on his belt. Silly clung to her mother and cried, "Please don't take him. He saved her." Jack looked at the medic. "You got a back door?" "Yeah, good, because I'm not leaving her." And with that, the tension only grew, but in the eyes of one alien child. This human had already become a hero. The town of Sarn 3 was quiet, but it wasn't peaceful. After the human named Jack carried the unconscious alien woman into the medic's shack, eyes started watching. Voices whispered. Old anger was waking up. Humans were not welcome here, not since the war. Not since the peace deal that left this colony broken and bitter. Inside the shack, the air was heavy. The medic, a grumpy old alien named Rosin, checked the unconscious woman's vitals again. Her breathing was slow but steady. She was fighting to live. The little girl, Silly, refused to leave her mother's side. "She's getting better, right?" she asked Rosin with wide, hopeful eyes. Rosin didn't answer. He only grunted and injected another fluid dose. Jack stood by the wall, arms crossed, listening. His eyes flicked to the front door. Outside, the angry banging had stopped. But that? Silence. It was worse. Because Jack knew what came next. Rosin finally looked at Jack. "You're causing trouble, human." Jack didn't flinch. "I saved her life. You touched her. That's enough." Rosin snapped. "They'll say you infected her. That you tried to steal her, or worse." "I don't care what they say," Jack said. "I didn't come for their approval." Rosin sighed deeply. "Then you're either brave or a fool." Jack didn't respond. He kept watching the door. Minutes passed. Then the medic's panel lit up. A deep voice crackled through. "This is Guard Unit 17. We're coming for the human. He has violated cross-species contact law. Do not protect him." Silly gasped. Jack's jaw tightened. Rosin cursed under his breath. "He's not bad." Silly shouted toward the speaker. "He saved my mom." There was no reply. Jack turned to Rosin. "Any chance we can get her out of here?" "She can't walk," Rosin replied. "And you'd never make it far. They've likely blocked the exits." Jack stared at the sleeping woman. She looked slightly better now, but still weak, bones showing through her skin, cheeks sunken. He knelt beside Silly. "Do you trust me?" Silly nodded quickly. "You helped us. No one else did. Then stay close to me." "No matter what happens," Jack said. Suddenly, the front door slid open. 3 tall alien guards stepped inside. They wore black armor. Their eyes glowed behind tinted masks. "Human," the lead guard said, "you are under arrest for unauthorized contact with a female citizen." Rosin raised his hand. He brought her here to save her. "She was dying. Doesn't matter." The guard cut him off. He broke the law. Jack stepped forward, standing between Silly and the guards. "You're making a mistake," he said calmly. Double quotes? No. You did, the guard replied. Pulling out a restraint band, one of the guards moved to grab Jack's wrist, but Silly jumped in between them. Nitrogen monoxide. She screamed. He's the only one who helped us. Everyone else walked away. You all walked away. For a moment, everything paused. Even the guards hesitated. Rosin stepped forward, voice lower now. Let them stay. She's just a child. Her mother almost died. He didn't hurt anyone. The lead guard growled. She should be in government care. You're interfering, Rosin. And you're embarrassing this town, Rosin replied boldly. A little girl begged for help, and only a human stopped. What does that say about us? Silence. The guards exchanged glances. The leader hissed in frustration. We'll report. This, he warned. If that woman dies, the blame is on you. He pointed at Jack. Jack simply nodded. Fine. Then I'll make sure she lives. The guards turned and walked out, the doors sliding shut behind them. Rosin exhaled sharply. You just made enemies, Jack. Jack gave a half smile. Wouldn't be the first time. Later that night, the shack was quiet again. The woman stirred. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes fluttered open. Silly gasped. Mama? The alien woman's eyes opened slowly. She looked at Silly, then at Jack. Where are we? She whispered. You're safe, Silly said quickly. He saved you. He carried you here. The woman's eyes moved to Jack. Her expression turned cautious, then confused. A human? Yes, Silly said. No one else helped. The woman tried to sit up, but Rosin stopped her. You need rest. You're lucky to be alive. Jack stepped forward. I'm Jack. I found you and your daughter on the road. You were unconscious. She looked at him again, still unsure. My name is Varelia, she said finally. Thank you. Outside, the town wasn't done talking. The human's actions had stirred things. Some called him foolish. Others whispered about courage. But one thing was clear. Sarin 3 had changed that day, and deep in her heart. Little Silly believed something no one else dared say. That maybe humans weren't all monsters. Maybe they could be heroes too. The next morning came slowly. Light from the twin suns of Delarue 7 leaked through the cracks in the medic's shack. The air was still dry, but inside, a different warmth filled the space. Varelia, the alien woman, was awake. She hadn't said much, but her eyes no longer held fear. Silly sat by her side, holding her hand tightly. She slept all night, Silly whispered to Jack. No more shaking. Jack, sitting against the wall, gave a small nod. He hadn't slept, not fully. He had kept watch with one eye open, his hand near his knife. Rosin entered the room and checked Varelia's vitals. Still weak, he muttered. But she live. Because of him, Silly said, pointing to Jack. Rosin didn't respond, but Jack caught the slight nod of respect. That was enough. Varelia finally spoke. Her voice was raspy. Why? Did you help us? Jack looked at her, calm and quiet. You needed it. That's enough. No one helps refugees, she said, especially not humans. Jack sighed. I'm not most humans. She looked down. Her voice shook. They'll come for me again. You shouldn't stay. Jack narrowed his eyes. Who? Varelia hesitated. Then said quietly, the bounty seekers. Soldiers. I escaped from a prisoner caravan. They killed my husband. They want my daughter next. Jack stood slowly. Then we're not safe here. No, she whispered. You're not safe with us. Just then, a loud noise cracked outside. Jack moved fast, peeking through the slit in the shack wall. A hover vehicle had arrived, sleek, dark, and marked with silver symbols. Rosin walked in, his face tight. "We have a problem," he said. Jack was already grabbing his pack. "Let me guess, visitors." Rosin nodded. "They're asking about a female fugitive and her stolen child." They showed her picture. Varelia's face turned pale. "They know we're here," Jack said. "We need to move." "I can't walk far," Varelia said, weakly. Jack turned to Silly. "Can you be brave?" Silly nodded. Double quotes. "Good. I'm going to get you both out of here." Rosin walked over to a back corner of the shack and kicked open a hidden panel. A tunnel, dark and narrow, led underground. "Emergency escape," Rosin said. "Smugglers use it. They'll take you to the outer scrapyards." Jack nodded. "You just saved our lives." Rosin gave him a serious look. "You saved hers. This makes us even." Jack lifted Varelia in his arms, gentle but fast. Silly stayed close behind. They moved through the tunnel, ducking their heads, the sound of boots echoing faintly above them. The tunnel smelled like oil and rust. The air grew colder the deeper they went. At the far end, a ladder led up to a loose metal grate. Jack climbed first, pushing it open just enough to see. They were in the scrapyard. Abandoned machines, broken hovercars, and rusted frames of old starships surrounded them. Perfect for hiding. He helped Varelia and Silly up. "We stay low," he said. "No sound, no light." Hours passed. They hid in the belly of a broken transport ship. Varelia lay on a pile of old cloth. Silly snuggled next to her, eyes half closed. Jack stayed at the door, watching the scrapyard through a small hole. Then he saw them. 2 bounty hunters, tall and armored, scanning with thermal visors. One of them growled, "The trail leads here." The humans with her. Jack held his breath. The hunters walked past the ship, then stopped. One turned back, sniffing the air. Jack drew his knife silently. But before the hunter could move, a loud explosion echoed across the yard. Someone had set fire to the far fence. The hunters ran toward the noise. Distracted, Jack exhaled. "That wasn't luck," he whispered. He peeked out and spotted Rosin on the rooftop of a distant shack. Holding a burning oil can, the old medic gave a small salute, then disappeared. That night, under the moonlight, Jack managed to power up a small broken utility speeder. It sparked and groaned, but it hovered. Varelia sat in the back, still weak, wrapped in old cloth. Silly sat beside her, wide awake now, holding Jack's coat like a shield. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere safe," Jack said. "Away from here." "Why?" she asked softly. Jack looked at her. "Because someone once helped me. And I didn't say thank you in time." The speeder hummed to life. Jack climbed in. They rode into the night, across the dunes of Dolores 7. Chased only by the wind and old memories. Back in Sarn 3, posters were printed. A bounty was raised. The local leaders called Jack a kidnapper. Criminal, but far beyond their reach. In the silence of the desert, a little girl smiled. Because someone did stop. Someone did care. And for the first time in her life, she felt protected. The speeder raced across the quiet sands of Dolores 7. The sky above was turning dark purple. Twin moons hung low, casting soft light across the dunes. The wind had settled, but the danger had not. Jack kept his hands tight on the controls, scanning the horizon. Varelia sat behind him, still wrapped in a blanket. She was breathing better now, though her face still showed exhaustion. Beside her, little Silly clung to her like a shadow, watching the desert fly past. Jack finally spotted what he was looking for: an old communication tower, long abandoned, half buried in sand. It was broken and silent, but the underground service room might still be safe for a while. He guided the speeder toward it. "Hang on," he said. They slipped through the cracks of the tower, climbed down a narrow stairwell, and found themselves in a cold, dusty room filled with old wires and storage crates. It smelled like metal and mold, but it was hidden and for now safe. Jack sealed the door behind them with a metal rod. Silly looked around. Is this our new home? Jack gave a soft smile. For the night. He helped Varelia sit on a crate. Her breathing was shallow, but her eyes were stronger now. Jack set down a small power pack and turned on a portable light. Warm yellow glow filled the room. For a moment, it felt almost peaceful. Then Varelia spoke. There's something I need to tell you, she said quietly. Jack glanced at her. I figured. People don't get chased across colonies for nothing. She looked at Silly, then back at him. You deserve the truth. Jack sat down across from her, arms resting on his knees. I wasn't just escaping soldiers, she began. I was running from the Empire's secret division. Jack raised an eyebrow. Which division? The genetics wing, she said. Project Nuva 7. Jack's body stiffened. He knew that name. Rumors of it floated across colonies. Secret labs. Alien DNA experiments. Bioweapons. Most people thought it was a myth. You worked for them. Jack asked slowly. Varelia shook her head. No, I was one of them. A subject. I was born in their lab. Jack's eyes narrowed. I was designed to survive extreme environments. They wanted to make perfect soldiers from mixed species. But I escaped when I was 16. I thought I could live a normal life. She paused, her hands trembling. Then, I met Silly's father. We lived in hiding. He gave me a new name, a new life. We thought we were safe. What happened? Jack asked gently. They found us, she whispered. Killed him. Took me and Silly. Said we belonged to the Empire. Said my DNA was still theirs. She touched Silly's hair softly. But Silly. She's different. She's the first of my kind to be born naturally. And that terrifies them. Jack stared at the little girl. She looked like any child, sweet, small, innocent. But now he understood. They think she's valuable, he said. A new kind of weapon. Varelia nodded. Slowly, they'll stop at nothing to get her back. Exhaled. Now I know why the bounty hunters didn't give up. Silence filled the room for a moment. Then Jack stood up, walking to the door and checking the lock again. His mind was racing. He had only wanted to help a girl and her mother. Now, he was part of something much bigger. You can still leave, Varelia said suddenly. This isn't your fight. Jack turned to her, his eyes firm. I left people behind once. I told myself it wasn't my problem. That I didn't owe anyone anything. He looked at Silly. But I see her now, and I won't make the same mistake. Varelia blinked slowly. Why are you doing this? Jack shrugged. Because no one else will. Suddenly crack. The wall behind them shook. A loud thud followed. Jack grabbed his weapon and moved fast, motioning for them to hide. More pounding. The steel door bent inward slightly. They found us, Jack growled. No windows, Varelia said, scanning the room. Only one door. Jack opened a supply locker. Inside, old climbing ropes, rusted tools, and a vent hatch. Here, he said. This vent leads to the outside. Small enough for you two. What about you? Varelia asked. Jack smirked. I'll buy you time. They climbed into the vent. Jack handed Silly his old cum device. Stay quiet. Head north until you find a black cliff. There's a cave. I've used it before. Silly looked scared, but nodded. Varelia looked at him one last time. Thank you, Jack. Don't thank me yet, he said with a wink. Then he closed the vent hatch behind them. The door crashed open. Jack stood in the center of the room. Weapon drawn, 3 bounty hunters stepped in. Heavy armor. Red visors. "You've made a mess." "Human," one of them snarled. Jack raised his blade. "I'm not done yet." The desert wind was cold now. Night had fallen, and the stars blinked over the endless dunes of Dolores 7. 2 figures moved quietly along the shadowed path between the rocks. 1 adult, 1 small child. Varelia was weak but walking. Silly walked beside her, holding her hand tightly, her feet sinking in the sand. The little girl didn't cry. She didn't complain. Jack had told her to be brave, so she was. Far behind them, the tower was burning. Inside that burning tower, Jack was still fighting. He dodged a plasma bolt that flew past his shoulder, then rolled and slammed his elbow into a bounty hunter's visor. Sparks flew. Another shot came, and Jack dived behind a crate. "I told you," one hunter shouted. "You should have stayed out of this, human." Jack didn't answer. He grabbed a broken pipe, swung it wide, and knocked the blaster from another attacker's hand. 3 against 1. But Jack wasn't fighting to win. He was buying time, and every second he held them off meant Silly and her mother were farther away. Back in the desert, Silly could hear the distant sound of fire and shouting behind them. She looked up at her mother. "Mama, will Jack be okay?" Varelia stopped for a moment, breathing hard. Her legs were shaking, but she stayed standing. "I don't know," she said softly, "but I believe he wants us to live." They kept moving. Sand whipped around them as the wind picked up. The cliffs Jack had spoken about were not far now. A dark wall of stone rose ahead like a giant sleeping beast. At the base, a small cave, almost invisible in the shadows. Varelia collapsed near the entrance. Silly pulled her arm. "Mama, we made it. You have to come inside. I need to rest." "No," Silly cried. Jack said, "Go inside and hide." Varelia forced herself to her knees and crawled into the cave. Silly followed and pulled a few rocks to block the narrow opening. Inside, 'twas cold and dark, but safe. For now, meanwhile, Jack was losing ground. His knife was gone. His arms were bleeding. His coat was torn. The bounty hunters were too strong, too fast, too well armed. One of them slammed him into a wall. "Where is the girl?" the hunter growled. "Tell us, and maybe we won't kill you slowly." Jack smiled through bloodied lips. "You've already lost her." The hunter punched him again. Jack fell to the floor, but just before he blacked out, he pressed a small hidden button on his belt. In the cave, Silly heard a soft beep from the cum Jack had given her. She grabbed it quickly. "Jack," she whispered. Static. Then, his voice weak but alive. "Silly, are you safe?" She held the cum close. "Yes, we're in the cave. Mama's sleeping." "Good. Stay there. I'm coming." "Are you okay?" A long pause. "No, but I'm not done yet." Hours passed. Varelia drifted in and out of sleep, coughing softly. Silly wrapped her in Jack's coat to keep her warm. She sat at the entrance of the cave, watching the stars. She whispered, "Please come back. Please don't leave me too." Then she saw something. A figure. Stumbling across the sand, she held her breath. Was it a soldier? A hunter? She almost screamed, but then she recognized the way he walked, slow, wounded, but alive. Jack ran to him, tears pouring down her face. Jack dropped to his knees as she reached him. "You made it," he whispered. "You're hurt." She said, "I've been worse." She helped him to the cave. Inside, Varelia sat up with wide eyes. "Jack, you came back." Jack gave her a tired smile. "Told you I wasn't done yet." She shook her head in disbelief. "You should have run. You nearly died." I made a promise, he said. And I don't break those anymore. Later that night, as they sat together near the cave entrance, Jack looked at the two of them, Varelia resting. Silly fast asleep beside her mother. He pulled out a small emergency flare and fired it in two. The sky, it wasn't a call for help. It was a signal to an old friend, someone Jack hadn't spoken to in years. A smuggler who owed him a favor. If he was still out there, he'd see the flare. Jack leaned back against the cold stone, holding his ribs. I'll get you both out of here, he whispered to himself, one way or another. And above them, the stars burned like silent witnesses. The cave was silent. Jack sat near the entrance, his back pressed against cold stone. His injuries still hurt, and his body begged for rest, but his eyes stayed open, always watching. Silly was asleep, curled. Beside her mother, her head resting on Varelia's lap. Varelia stroked her daughter's hair gently, but her eyes were fixed on Jack. You should rest, she said softly. I will, Jack replied. When we're off this rock, Varelia hesitated, then asked, why are you still here? Jack didn't answer right away. Because if I don't help, who will? He said at last. Morning came. Pale light slipped into the cave, and with it, hope. Jack stood up, wincing as his side throbbed. He walked to the far corner where old scrap metal and containers had been piled up. I've been here before, he said. This cave was once a repair bay. Varelia looked confused. A repair bay? In the middle of the desert? Jack nodded. Hidden smuggler stop. Long ago. They stored broken ships in the caves. One of them might still be here. He started moving the junk aside, one piece at a time. After half an hour, he found it. A transport shuttle, rusted, covered in sand, half buried, but real. Silly gasped, wide-eyed, can it fly? Jack grinned. Maybe, if I work a miracle. They all gathered around the small ship. Its hull was dented, the left wing cracked, and one engine was missing panels. But the structure held. Jack climbed inside while Varelia checked the rear. Silly followed close behind him. What do we need to fix it? Jack scratched his head. Power core, fuel line patch, and a new ignition circuit. Without that, we're going nowhere. Varelia's eyes lit up. I might be able to help. Jack turned. I used to repair equipment in the lab I escaped from, she said. They trained me to fix machines, before they used me as one. Jack didn't know what to say. Varelia stepped forward, touching the side panel of the ship. Let me try. For the next few hours, they worked together. Jack lifted the heavier pieces. Varelia connected wires and soldered circuits. Silly handed them tools, her small hands fast and careful. The work was hard, but together they moved. Like a real team. A real family. At one point, Jack caught Varelia looking at him. Her expression was unreadable. He asked, what is it? She looked down. No one's ever stayed before. Not like this. Jack paused. Then said quietly, maybe. I was waiting for a reason. Their eyes met. No words were needed. That evening, soft hum filled the cave. The ship's power core, patched with spare parts and pure luck, came to life. Lights flickered on. The console lit up. A low-energy pulse echoed through the stone walls. Silly jumped. With joy, it works. Jack smiled. Not fully. But it might fly. Suddenly, crack. A sound echoed outside the cave. Jack spun around. Footsteps, heavy. Measured, too organized to be hunters. Too slow to be animals. He moved to the entrance, crouched low, blaster in hand, and then, a voice. Jack Anders, it said, cold and clear. You were always good at hiding, but not good enough. Varelia gasped. That voice, Jack's face darkened. I know it too. A tall figure stepped into the cave entrance, backlit by the desert light. Armor painted dark blue. eyes glowing red behind a visor. "An officer of the genetics wing? Give me the girl," he said, "and you may live." Jack stepped forward. Not a chance. The officer raised his weapon. "You don't understand. That child is not just property. She's evidence. If the galaxy learns what she is, what she means it could destroy the Empire's control." Jack didn't move. "Good." The officer fired. Jack ducked, rolled, and returned fire. The blast hit the wall near the officer, sending sparks flying. Virelia grabbed Silly and pulled her behind the ship. The officer fired again, this time hitting Jack's shoulder. He cried out, but stayed standing. "I've taken worse," Jack growled, eyes burning. Suddenly Silly did something no one expected. She stepped out. "Stop," she screamed. The officer paused. Silly's eyes began to glow faintly. Her hands trembled. Virelia gasped. "No, Silly, not now." But it was too late. The energy that had always slept inside Silly, energy inherited from her hybrid genes, woke up. The ground trembled. Static filled the air. The officer shouted, "She's activating neutralizer." But before he could shoot, Jack tackled him from the side, sending the shot wild. Jack punched him hard, then again. The officer slammed into the cave wall. Unconscious, breathing heavily, Jack turned to Silly. "Are you okay?" She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I didn't mean to. I just didn't want him to hurt you." Virelia hugged her tight. "You were brave. But don't ever scare me like that again." Jack limped to the ship. "We leave. Now, before more come." Minutes later, the ship roared to life. Jack sat at the controls, blood dripping from his arm. Virelia co-piloted Silly, strapped in behind them. The engines groaned, lifted, and for the first time in years, the hidden cave echoed with the sound of hope. They took off, flying into the stars, leaving behind fire, danger, and a life that had tried to destroy them. But ahead, something better waited. The stars stretched endlessly outside the small shuttle's cockpit window. Inside, the hum of the repaired engine was steady, but soft like a heartbeat. The little ship drifted gently above Delora 7's burning skies, finally free from the dust, the bounty hunters, and the fear. Jack sat in the pilot's chair, one arm tightly wrapped with cloth from Virelia's shawl. His shoulder still hurt, but he had flown through worse. What mattered now wasn't pain, it was them. Behind him, Silly peeked over the seat, her glowing eyes wide with wonder. "We're flying," she whispered, amazed. "We're really in space." Jack glanced back, giving her a tired smile. "Told you we'd make it." Virelia sat in the co-pilot's seat, scanning the ship's systems. Her hands still trembled slightly, but her face had changed. No more fear, only quiet strength. They drifted for a while, silent, watching the stars. "Where will we go?" Virelia finally asked. Jack leaned back. "I sent a flare. An old friend of mine, smuggler named Koros, me more than a few favors. If he saw the signal, he'll come. And if he didn't?" Jack looked out the window. "Then I'll steal another ship." Virelia gave him a sideways look. "You really are stubborn." He smirked. "You're just figuring that out now." They both laughed softly. It was the first real laughter in days. Silly crawled into Jack's lap, curling up like a kitten. "I'm tired," she whispered. "You can sleep," he said gently. "We're safe now. Will you be here when I wake?" Up, Jack looked at her for a long moment. His voice was quiet when he answered. "Yeah, little star. I'll be here." A few hours passed. Jack eventually dozed off in his seat. Silly slept beside him, one hand wrapped in his. Virelia watched them silently, and for the first time since her escape, she let herself believe in tomorrow. Suddenly an alert beeped. Virelia's eyes snapped to the screen. A small vessel was approaching fast. Jack woke instantly. What is it? Unknown ship? No weapons locked. No transmission. Jack narrowed his eyes. Could be Core or someone else. The screen flashed again. Then a voice came through the com, distorted, but familiar. Jack Anders, you look terrible. Open the hatch, you half-dead legend. Jack smiled. It's him. The ship docked. An old smuggler stepped through long gray beard, cybernetic arm, and a grin too wide for his face. Core, Jack said. You still owe me 50 credits, Core said. And you still owe me a life. Core laughed, then looked at Varelia and Silly. His smile faded into a more serious expression. Them. Jack nodded. Damn, Core said. I didn't think you were the parenting type. Jack shrugged. Neither did I. Varelia stepped forward. Can you take us somewhere safe? Core looked her in the eye. Safer than this galaxy's ever been. He turned. Load up. I've got a route to the outer moons. No patrols, no scanners. You'll disappear. Jack looked at Varelia. You trust him? She nodded. I trust you. They boarded Core's bigger ship, a rusted cargo cruiser with hidden compartments and an old couch that Silly immediately claimed as her throne. Core handed Jack a medkit and pointed to the back room. Fix your shoulder before it falls off. Jack chuckled. Yes, Mom. Later, as the stars drifted by again, Jack stood alone in the observation bay. Varelia joined him. She adores you, you know, she said. She's something, Jack replied. I've seen things in this galaxy. Wars, monsters, betrayals. But I've never met someone so small who made me feel so needed. Varelia smiled. She feels safe with you. That's rare. He looked at her. What about you? She hesitated, then said softly, I've never felt safe. Until now. Their eyes met. Not with fear, not with confusion, but with quiet understanding. Later that night, Silly sat between them, her legs swinging off the edge of a storage crate. Jack told her stories about old planets, weird aliens, and once a robot that tried to cook soup but blew up a kitchen instead. Silly giggled so hard she nearly fell off the crate. Varelia watched them, her heart full. Before bed, Silly looked up at Jack and whispered, Can I ask something? Of course. Can I? Can I call you something? Jack tilted his head. What? She paused. Her eyes shimmered. Can I call you Dad? Jack froze. Varelia looked at him, silent. Then Jack slowly nodded. You can, he said. If you want. Silly smiled wider than she ever had. She hugged him tight. Thank you, Dad. That night, the stars outside didn't seem so cold anymore. And in that quiet ship between the past and the future, something new was born. Not just a family, but hope.